The coronavirus outbreak hit people across the world, claiming too many lives. It infected the very roots of our economy and raised many questions about our healthcare systems. In this first episode of What's Left, we take a closer look at the spread of the crisis to the economy.
J'espère qu'on va tirer des leçons. Parce qu'en 2008, on a eu une crise majeure. Tout le monde a dit on va tout changer, on va tout changer. On voit bien qu'on n'a rien changé.
This crisis might just be the opportunity to rethink Europe's current economic model. And here's how. As countries start deconfining one after the other, economic figures are out and they're not reassuring. The global freeze of the economy, a first in modern history, is set to cause the Eurozone to contract by 7.5% this year, the worst recession since the Great Depression.
Tant qu'on n'a pas un remède, un vaccin, cette épée de Damoclès, elle nous pend au-dessus de la tête et elle génère une incertitude dans des marges qui sont des marges qu'on n'a jamais vues. Alors la question est de savoir qu'est-ce qui va se passer après le confinement.
The jobs of up to 59 million people in Europe are at risk. That's almost the entire population of France. Beyond the numbers, we are talking about the livelihoods of citizens, their incomes, and their plans for the future that were put in question overnight.
There are legislative and budgetary actions by member states since the beginning of the crisis. However, these measures will affect unevenly member states due to the different spread of the virus, but also to the different structure of the economy of those states.
It took a month of confinement before EU leaders finally took action as one united bloc. A common bazooka package amounting to 540 billion euros was agreed on in April to protect workers, businesses and countries.
Questa è una crisi europea, non dei singoli stati, e come tale va affrontata. Il suo costo, quindi, deve essere condiviso.
In the longer term, all EU countries will need cash to face the economic consequences of the crisis. In other words, finance a massive recovery plan. If we take a look at history, we may find some clues to figure out what to do next. In the 1930s, to pull his country out of the Depression, Roosevelt decided to take radical measures. He tripled the federal budget in a few years, creating new resources, putting in place a federal tax on profits and on the richest. The first year it didn't work out. Roosevelt emitted bonds for a few years, and with a massive stimulus package, his tax plan paid off. For today's progressives, this precedent in history could give us a way out. One tool governments have in their toolbox to finance their actions, in addition to taxation, is debt. In normal times, all European countries can issue bonds to borrow money on the financial markets. But at some point, those countries will have to reimburse the money. If financial markets trust your country, they will lend money easily, at low interest rates.
La première question, ça a été de dire, voilà, il y a des pays qui vont être plus touchés que d'autres par cette crise sanitaire. Donc ça veut dire qu'il y a des pays qui vont avoir plus de dettes publiques que d'autres.
But for other countries that don't look quite as stable, interest rates can rise.
Les marchés financiers peuvent dire vous, on vous fait moins confiance, donc on vous demande des taux d'intérêt à 2% ou à 3%.
This has a tremendous impact on the country's ability to restore its economic strength. What might seem like a pretty insignificant rise in interest rates can quite quickly turn into billions of euros to be paid back.
Est-ce que, quand on anticipe qu'un pays va être plus touché qu'un autre, on peut arbitrer sa dette publique contre celle d'un pays qui serait moins touché ? Si ces mécanismes d'arbitrage se produisent, on a un espèce de cercle infernal qui conduit à pénaliser les pays les plus touchés, et c'est un mécanisme qui est totalement injuste. On a une solidarité inversée, une anti-solidarité.
In order to avoid this competition between states and make sure we have a truly solidarity-based recovery, progressives in the European Parliament put the idea of issuing Coronabonos at the European level on the table. In other words, a common European debt.
Chaque pays garderait sa capacité d'endettement, mais l'Europe en tant que telle aurait une capacité d'endettement.
Les marchés financiers vont le prendre comme la signature du meilleur d'entre eux.
Certains appellent ça des Coronabonos, on va dire que c'est lié à la crise du Corona, mais ce serait pas seulement pour les aspects sanitaires, ce serait aussi pour financer le plan de relance.
If the EU jointly borrows money on the financial markets, it also needs to be able to jointly pay back money borrowed. The progressives are pushing to create new own resources for the EU budget to create independent revenue for the EU. Asking for a fee on unrecycled plastics, drawing resources from the European emissions trade system, raising income taxes on big corporates, creating a digital services tax, putting in place a tax on financial transactions, while making sure the revenues from tax avoidance and tax evasion go where the money is needed. A few weeks into confinement, people woke up to a world where the air was clean and where traffic wasn't a nuisance anymore. Spectacular drops in CO2 emissions were observed. But this doesn't give us the bigger picture. In the last year, CO2 emissions have risen more rapidly than in the 60s and 70s, from 0.8 units to 2.8 per year. Temperatures continue to rise everywhere, and with it our need to deal with the situation.
On vient de vivre l'horreur, mais au moins, il y avait de l'eau qui arrivait. Imaginez, si on ne fait rien sur le climat, vous imaginez l'horreur si on n'a plus d'eau qui arrive à notre robinet ou s'il n'y a plus d'eau qui arrive dans les hôpitaux. Donc, est-ce qu'on a compris la beauté de la vie et la fragilité de la vie? Est-ce qu'on met la finance au service de la vie?
So how do we do it? How do we protect citizens' jobs and livelihoods while addressing the biggest challenge humanity has probably ever had to face? For the Socialists and Democrats, the path is clear. It's called the Green New Deal, with a just transition at its heart to ensure that no one is left behind when we rebuild our economies and our societies on a sustainable basis.
Comme rapporteur général du budget, je me bats pour qu'on ait un budget très ambitieux, un budget de relance et de transformation, et on peut créer 5 millions d'emplois. Si on veut gagner la bataille du climat, il faut isoler toutes les maisons, isoler les écoles, les maisons de retraite, les universités. Il faut développer les transports en commun. Il faut changer de modèle agricole. Il nous faut entre 300 et 500 milliards chaque année.
In the end, progressive ideas caught the Commission's ear, and by the end of May, it proposed a comprehensive recovery plan, 750 billion euros to support the bloc's economies. These investments would come on top of an existing 1.1 trillion euro wide budgetary plan. The hardest hit sectors in the most affected regions must be provided with a lifeline to ensure they don't have to fire workers or close down before recovery kicks in. The S&D Group will continue putting pressure on EU leaders so that Europe can live up to its ambitions.
Seamos sinceros, el problema no es poner más dinero, el problema es avanzar en Europa. Señora von der Leyen, ya ha visto que aquí, en el Parlamento Europeo, tiene un proyecto dispuesto a trabajar siempre por el bien de la ciudadanía. Ahora le toca convencer a los amigos del Consejo. Se lo debemos a las próximas generaciones de la Unión Europea.
With the coronavirus crisis, we've all been left in a state of shock. First and foremost was protecting people's health, supporting the most vulnerable in society, and ensuring that workers will have a job to return to after the end of the outbreak. But then we also woke up to a new world of possibilities, working from home, experimenting new forms of solidarity. And when the clapping stops, and when bit by bit that sense of normality comes back into our lives, what will we do? Will we go back to our old ways, or will we embrace real change? In this crisis, the progressives will have fought and pushed for a real change, refusing to sit on the sidewalk of history while watching workers, businesses, and our planet go bust. Now it is time to be bold and innovative and build a better future for all. Stay tuned for our next episode of What's Left, where we will explore in more depth how tomorrow's world could look like.